In the opening scene, Father Abraham throws a bottle at his daughter, Amanda, but misses his target. Amanda is on her knees crying as her mother, Mary, and her sister, Muna, beg Abraham on her behalf. Mary demands to know who impregnated her daughter, but Amanda keeps quiet as she thinks of the baby's father, who's a priest. Mary begs Amanda to tell them the name of the man, but Abraham interrupts her, saying that it doesn't matter since his daughter is not pregnant. He tells them that Amanda will take another test at a hospital far away, and that they'll get doctors to make sure the result is negative. He's suggesting abortion, but Amanda is against it. Abraham stands to attack her, but is stopped by his wife and Muna, who go on their knees, begging him. He blames Amanda for putting everything he worked for at stake, including him being transferred to the Netherlands. Amanda still doesn't support the idea, so Abraham starts shouting at her but soon stops as he clutches his chest, collapsing to the ground with his eyes wide in shock. They all panic as they rally around to get him to the hospital. In the next scene, Amanda runs to Abraham's room at the hospital. Mary instructs her to go back, since her presence will only stress him out and worsen his condition. But Abraham tells Mary to let her in. Amanda rushes to her father's side, telling him that she's sorry, but Abraham says he's not her father if she refuses to get rid of the baby. Seeing that she hasn't changed her mind, he instructs her to leave his house by the time he comes back. Mary drags Amanda away from Abraham and tells her to give her father some time, but Abraham says it'll take his lifetime before he changes his mind. Amanda is crying at this point and doesn't know what to do. Abraham's parting words to her are that her child will cause her the same pain she caused him. Mary then takes Amanda out of the room, feeling helpless in the situation. 14 years later, Amanda is on a date with her boyfriend of 6 months, Jide. He thinks it's time for them to be more than lovers. Amanda notices the direction the conversation is going and excuses herself, heading for the restroom. She calls her friend, Kemi, to tell her that she thinks Jide wants to propose. Kemi is happy for her, but Amanda is scared because she hasn't told him about her daughter, Nora. Her friend assures her that he wouldn't care, but Amanda is still worried. Kemi is positive that Jide would not mind that she has a daughter and advises her to tell him. She tells Amanda that when she gets back, they'll celebrate and start planning the wedding, which makes Amanda feel relaxed. After the call ends, a woman comes out of a stall and advises Amanda not to tell Jide about her daughter, or she'll go back to being single. She says that the same thing happened to her, but she's now married for 4 years because she convinced her husband to send her daughter to study abroad, pretending that her daughter is her niece. At this point, Amanda is confused about which advice she should follow. Amanda returns to her table and sees the woman from the bathroom at a table with her husband. She wants to tell Jide about her daughter, but instead lies that she has a medical condition, which surprises him. Just then, Jide's wife, Mabel, walks into the restaurant, shouting at him. He tries to calm her down, but she doesn't stop. Amanda stands to leave, but is stopped by Mabel, who brings out the panties and bra that she saw on Jide's desk. According to the wife, they aren't her size, so she knew he was cheating on her again. She puts the panties on Amanda and immediately knows that she's the one he bought it for. She also takes the gift he bought for Amanda and opens it to see another bra. Amanda walks out, embarrassed, leaving Jide to deal with his raging wife. She rushes to her car and starts crying as soon as she's inside. In the next scene, Amanda cries as she tells Kemi that she had no clue that he was married. Kemi is annoyed by the situation, stating that men are scum. A message pops up on Amanda's phone and Kemi asks for the phone, so she can curse Jide out, but Amanda tells her that it's from a guy who's obsessed with her travel blog. Kemi thinks she's trying to stop her from cursing Jide and takes the phone anyway. She's surprised to see that the message is not from Jide and is indeed from a guy with the username Michael007. Just then, Kemi gets a call from her boyfriend, Biola, who informs her that he is waiting for her downstairs. She smiles from ear to ear despite claiming that men are scum earlier on. She feels bad for leaving Amanda, but Amanda tells her that she'll be fine and will indulge herself in some wine. Kemi hugs her and suddenly brings up Michael, advising Amanda to chat him up and have fun since they know nothing will come out of it. Biola calls again and Kemi leaves, but not without asking if Amanda will be okay, so Amanda assures her that she'll be fine. Once Kemi is gone, Amanda takes out her phone and goes through the comments Michael had sent, as well as the comments of other readers, who marvel at Michael's shameless attempt to shoot his shot. Amanda finally writes a reply to his comments, saying that she's been offline. Just then, she hears a scream and goes to Nora's room and finds Nora using her phone and her laptop, even though it is past her bedtime. Amanda seizes Nora's phone and takes it to the living room, where she proceeds to chat with Michael and accept his friend request on Facebook. They continue chatting. Amanda looks up to see Nora staring angrily at her before going back to her room. Amanda follows her to her room and states that she would not be allowed to use her phone for the next 2 weeks, which upsets Nora even more. Amanda goes back to chatting with Michael, who's curious about Nigeria, since he's also in the travel and tourism industry. In the next scene, Kemi asks Amanda to hurry up so they won't be late for work. Amanda comes out of her room prepared, but still chatting with Michael. Kemi teases her and asks if she's okay since the incident with Jide was the previous day, and she seemed to have moved on. Amanda believes that life goes on regardless of what happens. Nora comes out of her room and greets them before apologizing to Amanda. As a reward, Amanda gives her the phone and Nora hugs her excitedly. Amanda tells Nora that Kemi will drop her off at school, and Nora reminds her that they were supposed to talk about her transfer. But Amanda has made up her mind that Nora will go to a boarding school. Nora doesn't like the idea of going to a boarding school, but Amanda let her know that she doesn't need her opinion, or the opinion of her school counselor. At work, Kemi starts ranting about how her boyfriend had snubbed her because she refused to spend the night at his place, but Amanda pays little to no attention to her as she continues chatting with Michael. Amanda starts laughing and Kemi stops her rant. She's upset that Amanda is not listening to her because of Michael. Amanda lies that he's not the one she's chatting with, so Kemi checks and sees that Amanda is lying. They start laughing and Kemi tells her that she's in love with him. But Amanda is in denial, claiming that she's only catching a cruise. Just then, a delivery comes in for Amanda from her favorite restaurant. Kemi teases her for claiming that nothing is going on with Michael, when he even knows her favorite restaurant, as well as her favorite food. As if it was timed, Michael's message pops up. Kemi grabs the phone and records a voice message, telling him that Amanda loves the gift, and that she thought white men only bought flowers as gifts. Michael sends a voice message in reply, speaking a bit of pidgin that he learned from watching Nigerian movies. He also learned that sending flowers wasn't always acceptable to Nigerian women. At home, Amanda, Kemi, and Nora are in the dining room. Nora isn't happy that Amanda is traveling again, so her mother assures her that she won't be gone for long. Nora doesn't understand why she's always the one traveling, so Amanda explains that she has to travel to get the bonus that she uses to pay her school fees and buy nice things. Meanwhile, Kemi is chatting with someone and is acting suspicious. A message from Michael pops up and she replies to him. Nora sees his name pop up again and tells Amanda that Kemi told her about Michael. Amanda covers up, saying that he's their colleague. Nora tries to bring up her counselor, who's also Michael by name, and Amanda stops her. Amanda thinks it's better for her to go to boarding school, but Nora is against the idea and thinks her mom is ashamed of her, so Amanda assures her that she's not. Nora begs her not to send her away, promising to be good. Just then, someone rings the doorbell and Kemi answers the door. She comes back to call for Amanda. Amanda goes to the door and sees Muna, who tries to apologize for the way they treated her in the past, but Amanda tells her to go away. It turns out that Amanda had gotten pregnant by Muna's boyfriend. She wants to make things right, but Amanda doesn't think there's anything they can do to make up for what she had to go through. She tells Muna to give her time, which is her lifetime, before going back inside. Muna pauses for a while and brings out an envelope. Once inside, Kemi apologizes, saying she thought it was time to reconcile with them, so Amanda points out that it wasn't her place to make that decision. Kemi sees an envelope under the door and picks it up. It's an invitation to Muna's wedding. Amanda concludes that Muna wanted to rub it in her face and starts crying. Kemi regrets what she did and doesn't know what to do. The next day, Amanda knocks on Nora's door, but she's ignored by the upset child. She goes into her room and asks if she's not going to bid her farewell before she travels. Nora doesn't turn to look at her and tells her goodbye. Amanda leaves for a business trip to New York, where she meets with a potential business partner, Anderson Travel and Tour. She finds out that they already accepted her company's proposal and had sent a response that morning when she was on her flight. The meeting ends and they leave for the convention where travel agents represent their companies. In the next scene, Amanda calls Kemi to tell her about the proposal, and how she was getting ready to give a master presentation before she found out that it was accepted. She gets another call and hangs up to answer it. It's from her mother, who's calling to apologize to her. Amanda's mood is ruined and she starts tearing up. She tells Mary that she has made peace with her silence and wants it to remain that way. She ends the call and calms herself before calling Nora. Nora ignores the call and Amanda sends her a message, saying that she wants to hear her voice. The next day, Amanda continues messaging Michael and finds out that he's about to visit his usual spot at 38th Street. Amanda is on a call with Kemi and she asks to speak with her daughter, but Nora refuses. Kemi then lies that she is asleep, but Amanda knows she's awake. Kemi tries to give her the phone again, but she leaves for her room. Kemi believes that Nora holds grudges like her mother and changes the topic, asking if she's seen Michael. Amanda tells her that she's about to surprise him, but Kemi is against it, because she believes that no one would want to be caught not looking fresh. Meanwhile, Amanda just wants to meet the real him and Kemi hopes he looks the same as on his socials. In the next scene, Amanda arrives at Michael's favorite restaurant. She sits at a table and watches his reactions to her messages. She stands up to sit with him at the bar but sees another woman sitting beside him and she turns to leave, upset. On her way out, she bumps into a waiter and draws his attention. Michael sees her and rushes to hug her, saying she looks more beautiful in person. He introduces her to the woman who happens to be his cousin, Natasha. Amanda feels relieved and shakes hands with Natasha, who welcomes her before taking her leave. Michael is surprised that she's in New York and Amanda gives him a gift. He takes her to a table where they chat and eat. He wants to show her around, but she's busy with the convention, but he insists that weekdays are the best for a tour around the city. Just then, the waiter brings the bill and Michael asks if she wants to split the bill, which comes as a surprise to her. Seeing her reaction, he tells her to forget about it, but Amanda agrees to split the bill. The mood becomes awkward. He suggests that they should get some wine, but she refuses. They take a taxi and he tries to talk about the split bill, but she tells him that it's fine. She goes back at her hotel and pays the cab fee despite Michael offering to pay. He offers to take her out that night, but she refuses, claiming she had work. She gets out of the taxi and he runs after her, apologizing for what he did earlier and asking for a fresh start. He asks if they can meet up the next morning so that he can show her around, and Amanda promises to text him later. He's frustrated as she leaves and receives a text from Amanda, saying that she'll see him in the morning. He looks up and sees her smiling at him. In the next scene, Amanda calls Kemi and shares everything that happened at the restaurant. She tells her that he wants to meet up the next day, but thinks she'll pass, and Kemi agrees with her decision. Just then, Amanda gets a delivery from Michael, who sends her food, and a man playing the saxophone walks in. Kemi wonders what is going on and Amanda puts her on a video call. Kemi jumps up, excited for her friend. She instantly changes her mind and tells Amanda to go on the date. The next day, Amanda calls Kemi to see her outfit. Kemi thinks she looks too decent, but Amanda pays her no mind. Kemi asks if he doesn't have a job, since he's taking her out on a Monday morning, and Amanda reveals that he took a week off, which makes him score a point with Kemi. They end the call and Amanda meets up with Michael, who's waiting for her. She appreciates him for the surprise and they leave to meet a tour guide. They get in the car and they both sit at the back. A woman shows up at the last minute and sits between them, making them upset. Liz introduces herself to them and the tour guide introduces Michael to the others on tour. Michael tries to convince Liz to swap seats, saying that he wants to show Amanda around, but she doesn't get the point and comments how Amanda is lucky to have 3 tour guides, since she's also from New York. On their tour, Liz continually talks over the tour guide. When they are on foot, Amanda and Michael are constantly separated by Liz, who acts like she's the tour guide. When they finally get to be alone, they take pictures, but Liz still joins them. They walk away from the rest of the tour group to take a break from Liz and see a wagon they'd love to ride. The wagon pulls up and they see Liz in it, so they decide to walk instead. They visit another place and they take pictures. Liz tries to join them, but they reject her. She doesn't seem to understand that she's interfering. Michael and Amanda sit on the stairs and Amanda comments that New York is beautiful. He reveals that it used to take his breath away, but he feels bad that his soulmate isn't there. Michael sits closer to her and leans in to kiss Amanda, but Liz shows up at that moment and asks him to take pictures of her. He obliges, and Isabella, who's also on the tour group, calls Amanda and tells her that Liz is trying to seduce Michael, so she should take action. Amanda excuses herself and leaves for the restroom. While she's gone, Liz tries to flirt with Michael, but he tells her to stop getting in his way. Meanwhile, Amanda overhears 2 guards talking about how Michael is pretending to be a regular member of the tour when he's the actual owner, and they think he's hiding his identity so he doesn't get scammed by her, a Nigerian. She confronts Michael about it and he says that he didn't think it was necessary to tell her. She walks out angrily and he tries to stop her from leaving, but she leaves anyway. Michael is left confused while Liz watches them. At the hotel, Amanda calls Kemi to vent, but Kemi reminds her that she hasn't told Michael about Nora, so she doesn't have a right to be upset with him. Amanda is not satisfied with Kemi's reply and hangs up. The next day, Michael calls her but she ignores him. He calls her hotel and they tell him that she just checked out. He runs to the hotel where he sees her about to enter a cab. He asks to talk with her and she agrees. He takes her to a restaurant where he tells her about how he had been hurt in the past and apologizes, wanting to make things right. She calms down. They both laugh when he replies to her in pidgin, and they hug. He then takes her luggage as they go back to the hotel. In the next scene, they go to a Nigerian restaurant and Michael gets a call. He leaves to answer it and their order arrives. Amanda is overwhelmed by the spiciness of the food, but Michael thinks it's nice. He informs her that he's been visiting the place since he was in college. He's surprised that she cannot handle the spice. Afterward, they go on a walk where he asks her to stay behind for a few more days and she agrees to it. They're oblivious to the fact that Liz is following them. They sit at an outdoor restaurant and she asks what he has in plan for the extra days she'll be staying. He tells her that he wants to take her to his home. Upon hearing this, she decides to tell him about her daughter and is surprised that he doesn't care. He finds it funny that it's a deal breaker for Nigerian men. On their walk back, he reveals that he'd love to meet Nora. He wants to be a part of her life and she hugs him, touched. They leave to take the subway, still not aware that Liz is following them. In the next scene, Michael drives deep into the woods to his house. He tells her that he saw a cabin in the woods as part of her bucket lists on her blog, and admits that he's read all her posts. He hopes she writes an article while they're at his house. She doesn't promise to write, but he still gets excited. They arrive at his house and she's surprised to see a lot of deceased animals hanging on the walls of his house, but doesn't think anything of it. She turns around to see a pale, scary woman in her mid-40s behind and screams, but Michael introduces her as a house help whom he had known since he was a teen. Amanda greets her but she's ignored by Edna. who hurries back inside. Later on, Amanda is working on her laptop in Michael's dining room when he goes downstairs and starts playing a Nigerian song. He also dances to it to get her to pay attention to him. She tries not to mind him, but he drags her and they both dance. They hang out for days. At one point, Michael gives Edna a deadly stare when she looks at them, but Amanda doesn't notice. In the next scene, Amanda has a nightmare about her father cursing her and the things she endured when she was sent out to the streets. She screams, waking up from the nightmare. The scream wakes Michael up and she tells him that she had a nightmare. He takes her downstairs for some tea and she tells him everything. He comforts her and tells her that it's been long since he's been happy and promises to take care of her no matter what. He goes to the kitchen to get them something to eat and Amanda texts Kemi. Just then, Edna shows up and tells Amanda to go away, scaring Amanda. After dinner, she tells Michael she needs to go back home for her daughter and he promises to drop her at the airport. He's not happy that she wants to leave and stops her when she tries to get the dishes. He tells her to freshen up since it's her last night. She stands up to leave, but slumps on the ground, blanking out. The next day, Amanda wakes up and sees Edna, which makes her scared. Michael shows up just then and tells Edna to leave. She finds out that she's late for her flight and tries to get ready, but Michael refuses to let her go back until she feels better. She tries to argue but starts coughing. He leaves to make her breakfast where he is seen putting something in the food. He feeds the soup to her but she struggles, saying she wants to leave. After taking the soup, she passes out. In the next scene, Nora complains to Kemi about her mom not answering her calls and Kemi assures her that everything is fine. Meanwhile, Kemi has also been trying to reach her but to no avail. Kemi leaves a voice message, asking why she hasn't been answering her calls, adding that her mother and sister came to the house, saying that she blocked them. Meanwhile, Amanda is looking paralyzed and Michael wants to feed her some soup. She begs him to take her home, but he assures her that she'll go home when she's stronger. She pretends to pass out just as he is about to feed her and he leaves. She tries to look for her phone and asks Edna if she has seen it. She turns around to see Liz and passes out. When she wakes up, Amanda tells him that she saw Liz, but Michael thinks she's hallucinating and says that they need to take her to the hospital. She asks for her phone and he pretends to get it, but then locks her in the room. She begs him to open the door but he refuses, saying that it's for her safety. She starts crying, pleading that she needs to see a doctor and he claims that he used to be a paramedic. She falls asleep and dreams of Liz shooting at her. She hears someone by the door and it turns out to be Edna, who opens the door and tells her she has to leave immediately. She tries to help Amanda sneak out, but they get caught by Liz, who turns out to be a detective who has been investigating Michael for kidnapping and murdering Nigerian women. Just then, Michael shows up and Liz points her gun at him, but he continues walking towards her with his hands up. Michael tries to convince Amanda that Liz is lying and Amanda is confused, not knowing who to believe. Liz and Michael get in a fight and Amanda escapes. Gunshots go off and Michael runs off to another room. Liz goes after him and walks into a room with articles about several Nigerian women. Michael knocks her out, but she puts up a fight. He takes the gun and shoots Liz in the shoulder. Amanda tries to escape and enters the room where Liz is. She's surprised by Liz's body and notices the articles on the wall. She sees her passport and takes it. Meanwhile, Edna shows up by the door and tells her that they need to hurry up. They run into Michael and Edna tells Amanda to run, but she doesn't want to leave without Edna. Michael tells Amanda that Edna helped with the rest of the girl, so it's strange that Edna refuses to let Amanda perish. The older woman tells her to run. Amanda runs out and Edna stabs Michael with a syringe when he's distracted. He gets annoyed and shoots her, before leaving to find Amanda. He runs after Amanda in the woods and she slips on someone's corpse. She looks around and finds more corpses around her. She runs away but gets lost and Michael grabs her. He tells her that he loves her and that he won't end her if she promises to stay with him. Liz attacks him from behind and Amanda escapes again. He eliminates Liz and goes back to his cabin to take some. He hears a phone ringing and goes to the closet. Amanda comes out from the closet and stabs him. He pushes her and chokes her but loses his grip and collapses. Just then, sirens start blaring, getting louder as the police approach the house. In the next scene, Amanda talks to a detective about what had transpired and the detective tells her everything they gathered on the case. She finds out that he didn't own a tour company and that he paid some people to deceive her. She also discovers that the house belonged to the first victim he killed. She's shocked by all the new information. It turns out that Michael is an orphan who fled from the orphanage home to avoid getting his mental illness treated, and that Natasha also grew up in the same orphanage home, but was not aware of his crimes. The detective assures her that they have contacted the Nigerian embassy, and they'll get her home. Just then, she gets a call from Kemi, who's annoyed that she didn't contact them. Amanda tears up and asks to talk with Nora. Nora apologizes to her mother, saying that she's been worried. Amanda tells her that she loves her and will soon be coming home. In the last scene, Muna and Mary are preparing for Muna's wedding when Amanda walks in with her daughter, Nora. She introduces her daughter to them and Mary hugs her grandchild while Muna hugs Amanda, who's crying. Nora goes to kneel before her grandfather and Abraham welcomes them with tears.